So it is December 12th, and we are here. The workshop today is how LGBT youth are changing the face of gaming. And to help frame this talk and conversation, we're going to ask the panel, I'll moderate and ask the panel a number of questions and go through kind of the game pieces. We'll demo the game, and then we'll open it up for Q&A towards the end. So we'll make sure we carve space for that. So a lot of it's going to be me asking questions and helping you understand kind of the framing of this experience for them. So how this came about is Maven. I'm the CEO of Maven. I'm Monica Arambide. And Maven is a nonprofit that offers free summer tech camps for queer youth. We do hackathons, we do game jams, and hopes to inspire to move a queer youth who is technology savvy, but move them into becoming innovators of technology. So as they're consuming technology with games and with our phone apps and so forth, we want them to move into an area of exploring what it means to build those kind of concepts. So we offer a free camps and hackathons and workshops to bring these young people in. The camps and everything is free to the young people. This past summer we did a camp in New York, San Francisco, and Austin, and we hope to keep growing and expanding into other cities to bring this program to life in other areas. One thing to know about our program is volunteer driven. So everybody that speaks and all the youth that encounter the workshops are led by other volunteers, people in the industry. So we have people from Pixar, we have people from Pandora, Google, Facebook, you have it, that actually come in and work with the youth on some of the workshops, or we're even housed in those tech companies and game companies. That way the youth can explore and get a really good insight of what it means to have a career in technology. With that said, we also highlight different careers, so it's not just being a developer or a programmer. It really is to see maybe they're meeting people that work on HR, human resources, or events organizers and so forth. So they get an opportunity to meet LGBT people in the tech professional field who might be in different tracks other than a developer. So our ideal individual coming to our camp, 90% of our youth are really, they would never classify themselves as tech savvy, and then 10% of our youth are pretty much, they're on the pathway of having a career in technology. Our whole goal is to inspire them. So we love people that say, oh, I'm not a geeky, I'm not a techie, I love to play games. Oh, come join us, hang out with us for 2 weeks, and hopefully we can change your mind about that. So during our San Francisco camp, this is our first year over the summer that we offered a game development program where youth from different cities build video games during their summer programming and compete against each other against each other camps on their video games. And this, who you're going to meet today, is our actually winning team of the Game Jam. So they're our national champions for developing a game that you're actually going to experience or get a little demo piece of it. So for further ado, I'd like to introduce the panels. So if you can introduce yourself and share a role that you played on the development of this particular game. Whoever would like to go first.
I guess I'll do it. I'm Tessa. I'm the oldest of the group. I kind of created the original concept for the game and wrote a decent portion of it. And I'm kind of helping lead the sort of project with Humaira.
Hello, I think this is working. Hi, I'm Humaira Syed. I'm kind of like the co-project manager on this thing, and I'm also the only coder on the team. So I basically coded everything. It's all me. No, everyone else is amazing too, promise.
Love you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm Julia Holston. I'm a concept artist and like character and background. I'm the child.
And I'm Kierynn. Save the best for last. I'm the background artist and character concept artist, I guess.
Yeah.
So how did roles get defined? So how did that come about? Who determined what role that they're going to play into this project?
It was really, I think, whoever can do whatever, do it.
Yeah, I would definitely say that kind of when we were first coming up with the game, I was kind of just like, oh, I'm kind of good at writing. I guess I'll just write it. And that was a terrible mistake because it's a huge undertaking. But I've always kind of seen myself as a natural leader. I've done a lot of projects before. Oh my gosh, Kierynn. And basically, like, I've led projects before, so I thought, hey, I'll kind of just take the natural lead, and it's kind of working out so far. So that was pretty cool.
Well, we actually got together as a team, there's like a small game jam for each tech camp, where each team competes within that tech camp, and then they go national. And so that's kind of how we grouped together for that. Kind of, we'd all been working with different people, and we kind of gradually started just talking to each other more, and it was like we had the same ideas, and yeah, basically. I'm kind of like, see, this one keeps us motivated, but I'm the one who keeps everyone on the schedule, okay?
I goof around and eat stuff.
So can we see the demo of the game? That way they can see what you build.
We actually are in the process of recreating the demo. So the demo that you can download as kind of the international the National Game Jam. Basically, it's not up to date at this point. The demo that we are about to present to you, we worked on quite a lot. And actually, we were working on it last night. So yeah, it was really, we're really happy that we've got this much done. And we're going to show you.
Please don't be too loud.
Yeah. Okay. So the concept is kind of, it's on a world where there's both magic and science, because it's a concept, like, you don't see that often. So I was like, oh, this would be really cool. And the scientists and the wizards don't like each other at all. There was a huge war called the Arcana War, and this is basically post-war. There's a unstable peace, and there's a murder mystery. And you have to choose, you get to choose whether you play as a scientist or a wizard, and the game is completely, basically, we're building 2 games in one. And it's, like right now, you can pick whether to be a wizard or a scientist.
It's basically an RPG.
Yeah, it's like an RPG. So, do you guys want to be wizards or scientists?
Okay, hands up for wizards. Hands up for scientists.
Yeah, I didn't count.
Okay,
All right.
we're going with wizards. Okay, so now we have our player section. We are going to get more diverse characters in here soon. These are very rushed. But yeah, okay. These are the 2 characters. Hands up for Connie. Hands up for our androgynous amazing one as well. Okay, they're the same. We're just going to pick one of them. Boop.
We're picking for you.
Okay. Should I just read some of it, or?
We're gonna move through it slightly quickly.
Okay.
More to just kind of show. This is all original art, by the way.
Yeah.
So you can fit in your own name. No.
Please.
No. You know what? We're gonna go with. No, wait. We're not putting in butts.
And that's our new title card. And you can, depending on your choices, it'll change the game drastically. So
this is like a slight one. So basically, this is like a dream sequence one. So okay, we're gonna go with Dwell.
And then there's the item.
that's like the polished version of what we have. Like, 'cause we have a lot more writing for the wizard part right now. It's just not as amazing as we can make it. So we're gonna do the scientist this time.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna go with this one.
The opening narration is also different each time.
You know what?
Oh
I told you.
You're right. Okay.
I'm not disappointed. So, fun fact. There's background so we like
Yeah.
There's like 80 bajillion Easter eggs in it.
Yeah.
As you can see if you can like spot any flags. Oh, what the heck?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoa, blackout.
Yeah.
Suddenly the game's way more visible.
Oh yes. I think probably my favorite part is the writing that's on the back window. Yeah. Oh yeah. And basically also when you're in conversations like this, depending on what option you pick, kind of depends on like not only how the conversation goes, but how the character is viewed by other characters, which I think is really interesting because if you choose negative sort of, if you choose like relatively negative responses, the scientist actually gets pretty mad at you, and it's extremely interesting, I think at least.
So it originally started off kind of like as a dating sim, which was where the concept of your actions change how you're viewed by other characters and stuff came from. We're gonna be like, oh, wizards versus scientists. What are we gonna do there? You know what? Let's make it a dating sim.
Yeah.
And then we just.
But then Tessa got too serious with the writing.
Yeah, I was like, oh, there's this epic battle,
It
and
was like, let's murder someone.
So was there a budget for
No.
this game?
we wish that there was a budget.
Time was
No
the
budget.
budget.
Yeah,
Basically.
that was our budget,
We're all
basically.
in school, so that's why.
Yeah, we hope to eventually, I guess, do like either a crowdfunding campaign or just all have like work so that we can kind of set aside time and still have money to work on this. But
I'm just gonna say something right now. Oh, wow, that was really loud. Basically, a lot of this got done like last night because I didn't know how to make interactive stuff. For example, so right here for character selection, this didn't exist last night because it was like a text box thing in which you would type in wizard because I didn't know how to code it, but I found out and I did it. So I'm just very impressed with it.
So there was a demo game first, and now you're going back and enhancing
And
it.
just,
polishing
yeah,
it.
and just changing things and making upgrades. Yes, you can.
So on your game plan, how did it come about? So you mentioned about it was the camp, but also as well as like how are you moving forward, and what is next steps for this game?
I would definitely say kind of the next step is we're going to reevaluate our skill set. And like we actually have this fancy chart. So we're hoping to release the game either 2016 or 2017 on Steam, and it's going to be, I think, like $10, but or less. We're gonna basically try to sell it for as little as possible because games can be really expensive nowadays, and I actually can't afford games, and I think that that's sad. So basically what we're gonna do, we're gonna reevaluate our skill set, figure out what we can do ourselves, and then what we're going to need to find people who aren't us to do. So for example, none of us are really composers, so we're gonna have to find a composer to make music for the entire game. Right now we're just using royalty-free music, but it would be really cool to have like an original soundtrack. I don't know if you guys want to add on.
Okay, I can jump in. I guess one of the other things has been, for me at least, is art. We need more artists. So recently we had finding people who want to put in the time and can put in the time and also really good for like free.
Yeah.
Is like something that does not happen. And so I was really lucky to have met a nice girl at Lyric, one of the Lyric Maven events, and she agreed to do some of the art with us. So we have one more partner, and then one of Tessa's friends agreed to help out too. So one of the backgrounds, I believe the wizard bedroom and maybe another one, was done by them. And so it's just kind of, you tend to need a lot more artists if you can't do it like, especially if you can't do it full time.
Yeah,
exactly.
Where everything is art.
And then about the story development, did it change when the illustrations started to come to life or when the programming started to happen? Did your storyline change?
I think mostly the storyline kind of changed as I was writing it, but there were a couple of things that we encountered. It's like I think like at one point there was there was something with the cave sequence where it's like Humaira, we weren't able to figure out how we would get it to really like work right, so I had to rewrite that sequence in order for us to be able to actually make something that like really looked good. And sometimes it's literally just like there's like a visual effect that we can't really do and have it look nice, and so I'll just rewrite that in a way that it'll look better. But most of the time, we just go right with what we have, and the art kind of comes second.
And also sometimes when we incorporate new characters or something, we want to add something else. So, like, I had an idea for the High Wizard to make there be some, like, racial tension on the wizard side. So we wanted kind of to put in a little background for that.
Yeah.
Put in, like, actually kind of a separate storyline. So just some things to add a lot of diversity in our game. Because one of the things that we really focused on was definitely diversity. We want to have we want to have a lot of body diversity. We want to have a lot of gender diversity. We want to have a lot of sexual identity diversity, and a lot of racial diversity and stuff. So, and that's actually kind of hard to put in.
It is.
Well, how do you account for all of that in one game? And it's very hard to think about all of the different things that people deal with and put in diversity for everyone, especially when you don't have everything. You don't have to deal with everything. So.
And how did the inspiration come for the characters? So the illustration for the folks who designed and drew this, where was your inspiration?
It came a lot from diversity, wanting to put more diversity into stuff. So okay, so the Tess came to us with the first original concept and was so there's going to be a high scientist, there's going to be a high wizard, and they're going to be super androgynous, but they're going to have really curvaceous bodies with really long flowing beards. So that's really where a lot of the characters came from, which was we want to put this in, and then from there we started developing oh, they deal with this thing because of this.
And Julie, I know you did some of the artwork too, so how did y'all collaborate with having a number of people who were designers and illustrators? So how did that collaboration come along?
Poorly. Because I think we all have really different art styles. So in the game, in the demo, you definitely saw some of mine look really different from Kyrynn's. So yeah.
I'd also say that sometimes there is some argument when it comes to creating specific designs for characters. For example, Lattice, the wizard with the white hair, I had originally designed her to be pretty skinny, and both Kierynn and Julia wanted her to be like a thicker character, and at first I was kind of against that, which was really kind of lame of me, I'll admit. But then actually last night Julia made actually we brought them. Julia made a picture, and I was kind of, because I was like, okay, fine, I'll try it out. And then I saw it and I was like, this is perfect. And
really kind of the artists, I guess, we kind of had a strike against Tessa for that character. Yeah. Because Humaira was like, okay, we need the art for this character, and Tessa really had nothing to do with making the art, so we were all like, yeah, we're just gonna make Lattice a big character.
Yeah, and I was like,
no.
I have a vision. Like, writer and artist clash.
But Tessa wasn't drawing it, so we get to do whatever we want.
And what software did you use for your illustration?
Fire Alpaca.
Yeah, Fire Alpaca, Photoshop, all of there's a couple of illustrations that I did in here, and that's all like Photoshop and stuff.
Occasionally when the artists are too dead to do anything, like last night, I will like tint stuff. That's about as far as my photo expertise go. I'll go onto photor.com and just put a filter on it. Yeah. Okay, nailed it.
Like, this is perfect.
And we like using Fire Alpaca because it's free.
Yeah, that is nice.
Really nice.
And how about the gaming programming end? So what software did you use, and how were you familiar with it or not familiar with it?
Welcome to my domain. But yeah, we used RenPy, and it's basically Python, which is a relatively easy language to learn.
For the show of hands, how many have used RenPy or are familiar with RenPy? Okay,
cool.
I recently learned, I think it's Tobias from Microsoft. He told me that there was like, when it comes to RenPy, I was kind of limiting myself because I was kind of trying to look at it as a visual novel engine, whereas they were like, figure out what you want the user interface to look like and then figure out how to do that, because you can do it in RenPy. So now instead of trying to do that, I'm basically having Tess design the user interface the way he wants it, and then come to me, and then I will figure out a way to do it.
Like, actually, with the main menu in the game, there's that circular sort of world that has the cities on it, and then the night and day. And that was kind of, I had that idea, I think like a couple of us were talking about it, and I had that idea last night, and I was like, we're gonna do this and it's gonna look great, and then we were like doing it at 3 a.m. and we were like, what is happening?
We didn't sleep last night.
Originally it was actually gonna be animated, so the world was gonna be turning, but something went wrong, and it was just not, the world was like also moving while that was happening, and I'm like, we can't have a menu do that. So
it would be pretty interesting.
It would be extremely hard to click on, I think.
Side project, find out how to make the menu just like go across the screen.
Exactly.
So Humaira, would you have best practices for someone who's like, as the show of hands, there's only one person in this room that's familiar with RenPy, so why RenPy? For someone who's interested in wanting to build a game like you, like what's the learning curve? What are best practices?
I'd say RenPy is pretty good because it's the only kind of visual, easy to learn visual novel engine that I know of that's free. That's free, and I know of. I don't know what that is. But yeah, I started out, for the game jam, I actually had never used RenPy before in my life. I had done a little bit of Python, and I would suggest going through the given guide that they have and try to understand what the hell they're talking about, because when you are doing this for the first time, I didn't know where to place anything. Like, now that I have more experience with it, I'm like, oh, obviously this bit of code goes here, this indent needs to be right there. Okay, let's separate the file, have a label here, we can use it to jump to this file, this place in the story. Except I had no idea you could do that. For example, when the game was first, when I first did it, all the entire script was in one massive .rpy file, and my computer was like so slow because it was so massive. And then Tobias from Microsoft was like, oh, you do know you can actually like split it so that each different decision you make is like the outcome is in a different file, which makes it easier to run and a lot more organized. I was like, oh, and it's not even that hard. Okay, which I probably would have known if I had gone through the tutorials more online.
And while I don't know how to use RenPy, I really like RenPy because RenPy is more coding. You can do a lot more with RenPy versus other visual novel things online, where like you just put in pictures and write in tags, and you can't really decide what happens. You're very limited in those. But RenPy, you are actually working with code, so you can like do a lot more and customize a lot more and add different. You can do stuff with it, man.
It's very like freeing. It's like
not
the
a lot of limits on
the
it.
creativity like
And
flows.
it's easy.
Yeah.
Great. And what are additional resources that you use? So you talked about RenPy, you talked about other platforms. Like, what are things that you use, tools that you use to make this game?
Definitely like royalty-free sound websites. Like that is key, I think.
I showed them Ben Sound last night, and we were like, "This is amazing."
We were like, let's redo the entire soundtrack using this website. Yeah.
Any other additional resources y'all used or tools?
I think kind of, yeah, there isn't really much. We've been doing mostly everything ourselves. Tools-wise, we're using Wacom tablets, which, yeah, we can talk about those. Those are really great, because drawing with a mouse is terrible.
Actually, I have mine in my backpack.
Oh, no, it's fine.
Great. And then team collaboration. Y'all are a group of 5 folks. So how did that, what is working? What is not working? What are your strengths? What are challenges?
I found that at the beginning of the game design thing, I think Kierynn was more into characters. And then we recently learned that he's bloody brilliant at backgrounds.
Yeah.
Because the majority of the backgrounds, he did them.
Yeah.
And so that's been a kind of switch, and that's been nice.
I like coming up with characters. I don't like drawing them.
Which is actually great. So like Kierynn can do full-on backgrounds and do concept art for characters that they would like in the game. And then we can have, for example, PJ, who's going to be hopefully doing the majority of the character art once she gets her new tablet and laptop. And so we'll get more characters from her.
I think definitely one of the things that works is that we all kind of met each other at the tech camp. So we really, we were able to become quick friends pretty fast and know our strengths and weaknesses, from day one. Sometimes there is a little bit of personality clash, but it's a lot less now than it used to be. I know at first we were kind of I think Kierynn, actually, you didn't think that we needed a project leader, and I was like,
No, I said
We needed a project leader, and you guys were like, "Wait, but we need all these other people too. We need a composer. We need stuff." I'm like,
yeah, I was like, we'll worry about that later.
Worry about that later.
And then I was like, I'll take up the lead, and
My only thing was I was like, we need another artist, because everyone was kind of clashing and arguing over what art was going to get done by who. And I was like, you know what? All you guys are arguing, I can literally get nothing done, because I end up spending 95% of my time trying to find a good placeholder to put in to kind of see how the code will react. It would be much better if we had the actual art.
Yeah, that was definitely an issue for some time, I think.
But it's fine now.
And then how's the communication? Because I know, Kierynn, you live down south. So how is the communication with everybody not living within a close by radius of each other?
I think it's fine, since most everything happens on the internet anyways. So
we have a big Skype group, basically.
We send files to each other over laptops. Even last night, we were all in the same room, but we were all still in our laptops. So I don't think it really matters. The only advantage, I think, is that I don't have to go into Skype and be like, so what do you want me to do? Da 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 da. This is what I'm doing here. I could say it out loud, and I can still be drawing while I'm doing it. So I don't have to stop.
It makes the creative process a lot better, because you can just be like, hey, look what I have. Is this okay? No, I want it like this. Okay, quick fix. How about now? Nah, I think this needs to be adjusted. Rather than oh, you're
Screw
somewhere
you,
else.
You don't like my art.
Yeah, exactly. Basically.
Yeah, it can. Sometimes I know that definitely when we're on our Skype group, we can sometimes, because there's only like text and stuff, we can sound sometimes a bit more bitter with our criticisms, which I think can sometimes hurt people's feelings. But I think most of the time it's just pretty simple. And I think actually another major problem would definitely be response time, because like Kierynn and Julia are both in high school, and I'm in college, and then Humaira is, I am old.
I'm old.
Yeah, and Humaira's just doing like all of the awesome stuff because you graduated high school ages ago already. And so like sometimes it'll definitely be like, hey, I can do this thing, and it's like, I'm in class right now, so I can't even respond or look at that. And then I'll like come on at 2 a.m. and be like, hey guys, who's awake? And it's like, no, nobody.
So how do y'all see yourselves changing the landscape of gaming? So as young people, as young developers and illustrators, like how do you see yourself changing the face of gaming, the gaming industry?
My big number one is diversity and giving a voice to people. Like, I think that's really what this game was supposed to be about in the first place. Because as youth, it's very hard to get your voice heard, whether you're afraid of like people, I don't know, knowing that you're gay, like coming out is a big stressor. You're too young to vote, so you don't get a voice that way. You know, you don't really have any freedoms. You can't usually like travel on your own. So it's really hard as a youth to have your voice be heard. So youth are like really marginalized because of that, on top of other things that like adults are marginalized for, like being gay. If you're a gay youth, that's really like hard. So this game is really to show the perspective and give a voice to us and to other youth that we meet, as well as, you know, adding a voice for other people in gaming that aren't in gaming, like women and people of color. So it's just, yeah, that's...
I also think it's kind of showing that youth can really, we can do stuff too. Because I feel like at the game jam, when everyone was splitting up into teams, I noticed that a lot of we had a team, and there was like a few other teams, and then some of the kids seemed really demotivated. They didn't believe in themselves. They were like, there's 1 to 2 days on this game jam. How are we ever going to make anything worth anything? And it's kind of, I feel like this is also I'm trying to be motivation for other people to say, hey, look, I started out like game jam night was the night I learned how to use RenPy, and the next day was the demo. So I did what I did this time. I pulled an all-nighter and just learned how to use it. I'm not an expert in Python. I'm not like a 4.0 GPA person. I just learned how to do it. So it's just hard work and putting in the time. You can do anything, basically. And I feel like more kids need to know that.
I remember that night actually when you were learning RenPy. We were messaging because I was writing the script. We were like messaging back and forth up until like I think 2 a.m. or 4. I know. All I know is that we didn't sleep that much, just like last night. And kind of there was definitely, we were like, we want to get as much done as possible, so we're going to spend a lot extra time and we're going to do this. Well, my sibling who is also at the camp, their team was basically kind of just like, they started the next day and were kind of just so lost on what to do. They were like, we kind of have a concept, but they just did not believe in themselves. Like, I think there were a couple of people who had breakdowns, and it was really hard to watch this happening while we were just like, kind of being like, we're gonna do this and powering through, and then like seeing somebody like walk past like crying. It was
not actually joking. There were actually people crying.
It was painful to watch, and it was just like, we have to keep working and we can't worry about this, but at the same time we're like, this needs to change. Like, this isn't okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's not to say that those people aren't like cool and talented.
Yeah. Oh, they're amazing. They just didn't believe in themselves as much as we believe in them.
And it's hard because adults don't really believe in youth either. It's like, oh, you're just a kid. You don't really know how to do it. Like when we went to all of the different tech companies, we Tess and I were like asking for internships from everybody, and we were like, so like when can we get an internship and stuff? And they're like, oh, you have to be a junior in college, but most of the people in tech right now don't have like a degree in tech. They just got into it and started coding and stuff. So to say that we have to wait until we're juniors in college to even apply for an internship is like, you're not taking in all of the skills that somebody has.
Yeah.
And we did a project with, we went to another conference thing, and we made a project. All the adults in our group dropped out, and we kept going on with the project. And so there was a presentation day, and we didn't even present because the people just didn't think that we'd done anything.
Yeah,
Is this the White House thing?
Yeah,
they
it was very, the adults on the team were very unprofessional.
Yeah.
They just, like, we were emailing back and forth, everything was fine. We're building stuff, it's going well, we're getting youth leaders and LGBTQ leaders, and we're gonna connect them, and then suddenly, no response for 2 to 3 months.
So just the background, people are probably, what are they talking about?
Yeah.
So the White House, there was an LGBT tech summit at the White House, and our young people end up able to go. So we were selected to be able to be part of a team of probably around 200 other individuals that are really involved in the tech industry. So we went, and the whole goal for that time frame was to basically, the government will issue some kind of challenges that they're facing and want some tech people to come up with tech solutions. And so we went to the White House. Then you had about 6 months, I believe, like for us to go in groups to build these tech solutions. So you're talking about, I don't know how many groups got formed. And so that's what they're sharing out, is that the group that they got together on a particular project for the White House, all the adults end up like not showing up for the conference calls or getting really involved. And it was only the youth that were really left holding the project.
And I signed up to present our project. And I took off school and everything, and I was there on my laptop. I had like a whole presentation ready and stuff, and they just never got back to me on presenting. Every other project presented but us.
It was kind of this whole thing, actually, to be perfectly honest.
So I want to carve this time now and moving forward. I'm sure y'all have a lot of questions or curiosities about the game or about the project. So I wanted to pose the opportunity for folks to ask questions of the panel members. You can raise your hands and ask a question.
All right. When did you guys actually start working on this initially? Was it this summer, or what was the time frame?
This summer, I would say it was like June?
Yeah, yeah, we've been kind of working on and off for 5 months. We started late June, and like basically we started in late June, and then we like finished the initial demo for the game jam in July, and then we had a couple of months break where we kind of didn't really work on it. Up until
finals,
there was a ton of us were like just getting into like school. Like I was starting my first year at college. It was definitely, we kind of had to figure out how to budget our time with this new project, and so we weren't really working on it for a couple of months during that time.
Any other questions of the panel?
Sure. So with your writer hat on, as you approach it in terms of diversity, I know you approach it in terms of look at the characters things. How do you approach it too in terms of storytelling from that LGBTQ perspective? Is it in terms of relationships, worldview? Can you speak on that a little bit?
Oh yeah, definitely. I have been doing so much world building, like, so I kind of, one of the things that we didn't get to really see in this version of the demo, but in the old demo, you actually get to see the High Wizard is in a stable relationship with like a soldier. And there's kind of like relationships will kind of pop up. Characters will just be like, if like you're talking to a character or something, and like say like some person walks by that both of the characters end up noticing, like there might be kind of, the person will be like, wow, she's really pretty, or something like that, just like kind of as like an offhanded thing. I think Alan Stumbledore could say something like that. And basically kind of just very subtle things, just like everyday conversation. Like we'll talk about our kind of relationships or our worldviews.
I think it's also like, it's kind of this world that we're creating, it's more like, I believe that it's a world where LGBTQ is really like an accepted thing, and there are like so many other problems going on that LGBTQ issues, like, they're not a thing.
Yeah,
they're like everyone's accepted. That's not a thing. We're just like, oh, the factions and magic and war and that's the thing happening now.
We've got a war to worry about. We can't worry about like gay people getting married and stuff like that's like. Why are we even arguing about this?
That's kind of one of the things that I was really happy about when Tess brought up, because I've noticed ever since I came out, I was kind of like, oh, I should try finding like more books that are like LGBTQ friendly. And one of the things I noticed, some of the books I read, they were like, LGBTQ was like a really big thing in the book. Like they made a huge dramatic point, and that's good for some books. But it came up in a lot of books, and I'm like, I would really love a book where a girl getting together with a girl is not a huge deal. It's just them being happy. And they have their problems like any other couple does, but why does their relationship need to be so dramatic and face every single issue? Like, could there just be like a few stories where it's just completely normal?
Yeah. Like, and I know Rom did this, so it's basically like showing representation by not making it a huge deal. Yeah. So the character is still very central to the plot, is a big character without being gay. So if the character was straight, they'd have the same impact on the storyline. But we made them gay because representation, and we can. But it's not the only reason the character's there.
Yeah, like with the high scientist, it's like, oh yes, I like they're kind of like aromantic and stuff. So they are like a sexual person, but there isn't really like, it's not like I don't love anybody because like that's an edgy thing. It's just like, oh yeah, that's I'm just not into that. Like, let's move on. I like science stuff. Let's do some lab experiments. Like, it's definitely like one of these things. Kind of, instead of making it about that aspect, we're making it about the story. I think that's very important.
Great. What other questions you have? Yes.
Well, first of all, you're all awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And you're really socially conscious, which I really love. I think you are obviously super capable, so don't let anyone tell you you can't do anything. I'm really curious about one thing you talked about in the interaction of the characters, like the way they respond to questions, having an effect in the way that other people communicate with them. What was the motivation behind that? And I'm curious, can you talk a little bit more about how that might spiral in the game? Like, is there a response to you being, a reaction to you being constantly positive?
Oh yeah. Like, definitely, in the script you can see in the actual script you can see this more. There's like a small point system that's kind of integrated into it. So the more that you're like nice to people, kind of the better the characters will interact with you. And in the end, there are multiple endings to the game, and there are endings where like the world could end and like your character could die, but there are also endings where it's like you get to live a happy life and you also get a romantic relationship. Like, it's a win-win. Or you can choose not to have that. And I think in the demo, like in the original demo, there was actually, at one point after one of the conversations, we left the point marker, so it would show how many points you had gotten at the end of that conversation and like the total. And it's definitely like one of these things, wait, I have no idea where I was going with that. I'm so sorry. basically, I wanted, because I had seen there were a lot of these games that are like, oh, it's a choose your own adventure, and it's like there's so many different possibilities. But with like some of the Telltale games, which I love to death, it's
Mass
like
Effect 3.
yeah. It's like you have all of these decisions, but sometimes in the end, it didn't really matter. Like if you played through the game multiple times, you could see your decisions don't actually matter. They just make you think that they matter. And I really wanted it to be that they actually mattered. So that was kind of my basis behind writing it like that.
And some concept thing really quick. I'm not sure if it's still in now because I'm a bad team member and I haven't read the new updated script.
Yeah.
But early on in concept to talking about romance things, we were like, we wanted to make some things situational. So like in order to romance the High Wizard, you had to romance the High Wizard and their boyfriend.
Yes, because it's a polyamorous relationship.
So. Yeah, like definitely there's gonna be like some of those aspects where it's like you won't be able to do one thing unless you first are able to do this other thing, which I think it's like real life. Like, say I didn't go to this tech conference, I wouldn't have gotten to meet all of you.
All right, so Julie, you want to do some closing thoughts for us? Like, what do you want people to walk out with, knowing about this experience, knowing about the game? Just your closing thoughts before we do our prizes. What are some you want them to walk out with?
I don't know. I guess just like knowing that like young people are also capable of making like really cool things. I guess.
Yes. Next. All right.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
We actually had a question for you guys that we were arguing about last night. So. At one point, we made this thing that we've been calling a boob window on one of the characters. So it's like just this little cutout in their shirt. Is that actually what it's called? Because
we call it a boob window.
Yeah, we've been just calling it a boob window.
I don't know if it's called like a keyhole shirt, but everyone's saying
really
boob window, and it's just.
I came up with peekaboo this morning.
When I was young, it was called the keyhole thing.
Oh, okay.
I like peekaboo.
All right, if you can pull your blue tickets out, we're going to do a couple of raffles. We have shirts, a phone, and GameMaker membership.